everyone, Matt Anderson here. Received a couple questions of people just wanting to go more in depth of how can I create value and breaking into the game of acquisitions and buying a business. So I've separated this into three parts. You have deal flow, which we know without deals you're dead. There's partnerships. Then we also have mentors and equity. And so different aspects here, and I've kind of am involved in all three of these, but there's certain parts of this that I would recommend or start with, and also what I'd recommend ending. So we're going to start with deal flow. So we know without deal flow you're dead, right? Because you can't look at deals. We know it's a numbers game. Usually with this funnel that you're going to go through, we usually say roughly you're going through 100 deals. You might do due diligence on 20, maybe close 1 to 3, right? But I've talked to a lot of people who say, hey Matt, I've gone through 100 deals and I don't do the due diligence on 20, or hey Matt, I've gone through 100 deals and I close 0. And so it's like, well, where in your steps are you missing help? Is it with the due diligence? Is it with the deal structure and creating the deal, and with the owner, or what does that look like, right? So I'm going to talk about different ways, and everyone has their own superpower or can discover of what they might do best, and then helping them create a team to help fill in the rest of that process, okay? There's very few people that I know that do something like this. Actually, I don't think I know anyone that does anything like this on a bigger scale without a team that's behind them. So deal flow. So we're going to name a couple things of what you can do to start to create deal flow, okay? So deal flow, and in this aspect would be, hey, let's just do business and get a finder's fee, okay? And what that would equal would be a percentage of the purchase price that you would get for the sale of the business. So most recent business that I did, I connected a buyer and a seller, not acting as a broker, okay? Someone that I knew that was selling, and I connected them with a buyer that I knew was looking, and I introduced them so the decision makers could speak. They had signed on both sides that they would pay me a finder's fee as a conglomerate together, a total of 5% of the purchase price of the company. So company was bought for a little over $700,000. I got a check for a little over $40,000 for the purchase price of that business. Pretty simple, clean cut. You get the business owners together, they can collaborate and they can talk about what works, what doesn't work, and whether they want to move forward. There's no broker in between, there's no middleman, and they're playing and trying to hike up the price or playing a bidding war at all. It seems to work, and I've never had pushback with anything like that. So that's how this works. Deal flow is you create that value for a buyer. They say what they're looking for, you bring that to them. So become a deal maker, or a glorified bird dog, or however you want to put it, right? But ways to find deal flow would be manifests. So there's ship manifests, there's manifests for freight forwarding, trucking companies, rail, and the ships that come in through the ports. So where do you find those manifests? So there's Import Genius, there's Panjiva, there's a lot out there. You could go to importyeti.com, okay? Type in anything there, and what it's basically going to do is it's going to show you the supply chain of that particular company. So if you go in there and type in Lululemon or Nike, any of these companies, obviously these are big companies, but type in someone small, type in someone smaller, and find that supply chain, okay? And then go backwards, and you can start connecting with the suppliers or people within that similar industry that could supply. And here, this is just an idea, is you can approach them to say, hey, if I could, with templates that we talked about in past videos or whatnot, saying, hey, I possibly have an interested party, a strategic buyer that would want to come in and either partner or acquire your business, is this something you'd be interested in having a conversation with moving forward, right? And let's say that you get some yeses from these manufacturers, whether they're inside the states or outside the states. You then simultaneously are approaching, if you haven't already, the people that are up the supply chain, the actual businesses that are bringing in these products, and you say, hey, would you be interested in purchasing, down your supply chain? There's a lot of people, and it's very popular nowadays to have a company, and instead of being dependent on multiple suppliers, they like to purchase down their supply chain. So they're purchasing vertically down that supply chain, but they're also going to start purchasing horizontally and rolling up maybe competitors and things like that, right? So it's something that's very popular. So go to importyeti.com to kind of start out. There's Import Genius, there's Panjiva. Those you can get some free subscriptions, but then you eventually have to pay for those. But essentially what you're going to do is it's called the Freedom of Information Act. So it's the Freedom of Information Act. And if you look that up, basically what that means is that all this information is supposed to be public. Now the problem is with our government, they're slow, and they're slow as molasses. So yeah, with this, you can write a letter in and tell them exactly what you want, and they will send that to you according to the Freedom of Information Act. But when they send that to you, it could be weeks down the road that you get that information. So yeah, that's a way to obtain it. However, you have sites like importyeti.com. They're pretty extensive. They give you a pretty good amount of information for free. Then you have Panjiva, Import Genius that are a little more restrictive. But you have big companies that use these all the time, and they will purchase the manifest data through the Freedom of Information Act, but they'll actually do a download, so they'll have to purchase that, and they'll set it up online and everything and make it super accessible and easy, right? Versus having to write a letter. Most people say, what's a letter, nowadays. But this manifest is a good way to go, okay? What you can do is, if you're able to find owners out there, a good way to contact them is actually FedEx. Send them a letter, send them your business card, and FedEx it to them, okay? Because they get spam mail. You could mail mailers and things like that, and a lot of them, it's a numbers game, right? I've mailed out in the past almost 1,000 mailers, and they've actually gotten to places, right? I've received less than 20 back that were returned to me as a no address, right, or wrong address. But with that being said, I only received, and maybe I did it wrong, but I received less than 10 phone calls or a phone call or a letter back saying that they were interested. And so I know some people have success in different parts of the world with that, but a way to stand out is send them a FedEx, okay? And so you can stand out a little bit more and get in front of that business owner and get their time, but make it short and sweet. Don't make it a long document. It shouldn't be more than a page long, and it should be, I'd make it shorter than that, because you need to know, you want them to indirectly in their subconscious to realize that you're respecting their time, and maybe you don't have a lot of time yourself because you're talking to a lot of different people. So we need to find out if this warrants further conversation or not moving forward, right? Now, there's Dun & Bradstreet, or like Hoover's. You can go there. Again, that's paid, but you can do so much for free. And that's more of a looking at the database after you've found some businesses, right? And you've identified some businesses. This is just to help you kind of get more information on those businesses, right? To do some further vetting of them to make sure it's worth your time to even go after them. So Crunchbase is kind of similar along the lines of Manifest, where Crunchbase, it just depends what kind of personality you are. I'd rather go to Manifest to go straight there. Crunchbase is going to give you all the details. If you're more of an analyzer type, what it's going to allow you to do is Crunchbase, you can go in and you can see which companies have done what acquisitions, right? And so you can weigh that against similar companies to kind of see, hey, how can I figure out what might be the best for their acquisition type of a certain buyer that you have, that's going horizontally or vertically, right within their supply chain, or horizontal within competitors. Google, you can just simply Google there's lists out there that aren't on brokerage websites, because remember, all of this, we want to stay away from brokerage websites. We want to contact people that are not in the market to sell, right? That's the sweet sauce of all of this. So you can Google those sites, and I'll do another segment on sites that I found that are specifically for sell by owner. So people that have already thought about selling, and that's kind of another niche there, but they want to sell, and they're out there, but they won't go through a broker, okay? You can purchase these lists online. Some of them are fairly cheap, but what I'd say is some people are like, well, I don't want to pay $200, $400, $500 for a list of 1,000 businesses, because it's kind of it could be a spray and pray approach. But what I say with this is that you hit that list 4 times, okay? But you make sure that any response you receive back, any response, whether it's a bad address, someone saying not interested, or even if they are saying they are interested, right? Or if it's a wrong address and it doesn't belong to that person anymore, delete it from that list before you resend to it. Then do it again, and then rescrub the list. Send again, then rescrub it. But wait at least 2 or 3 days between. I would say 3 days, and then just reword. Once you send it again, reword it a little bit. Hey, this is my second attempt, and put that in the subject line. Hey, this is my second attempt. I didn't hear from you before. I actually had an email today. When I do this, is they actually came back and they said, hey, I appreciate your persistence, and it was this was actually my 4th attempt. Yeah, it was my 4th attempt on this particular list. And they say, hey, I appreciate your persistence. We usually get a lot of spam in regards to acquisitions, and so now that we can see you're more serious, we're interested in speaking to you further. Awesome. I would have never gotten to those first 3 emails if I wouldn't have sent the 4th, right? So that's just an example of you need to hit that list multiple times, and make sure you scrub it so you don't get people that are mad, because you don't want to talk to people that don't want to talk to you, right? We don't want to waste their time and nor our own. And then another thing that people don't utilize is get a library card. Okay, it's free. Go to the library, use the resources there. They usually can help you with databases locally, sometimes on a national basis. If you look into those, and we'll do another segment on that, because that alone will take up a whole video there. So deal flow, there's a lot of ways to do this, but to present it, and you can, if you feel like you don't have the credibility, or you don't like to put yourself in that situation, then you can just say, hey, I work with investors, okay? You go to the individual, so like we said with the manifest, or however you want to go about this, for a finder's fee, is you go to them and say, hey, I have an interested party. Would you be interested in speaking about a strategic partnership and or acquisition? Does that warrant further conversation, yes or no? You get a no, that's all right. Let me know in the future if you're interested. And they go this way. They say yes, awesome. We'll be in touch. I'll get you. And a lot of this you're doing simultaneously, because I have buyers. I have a bunch of pool of buyers, okay? And that's what you could set up, and we could do another segment on that too. But it's about getting a buyer's pool and then constantly looking for them and getting finder's fees, so big lump sums, and get a pipeline going, okay? But what's better than a lump sum payment would be a partnership, right? And so how could you go into a partnership? So a lot of this is applicable here too, but here's different ways to how you can get into partnerships is you can do the same thing, and maybe you have a buyer, and depending on the buyer, if it's private equity, family office, it's most likely not going to happen. But if it's an investor themselves, you can say, hey, I would like to, instead of taking a finder's fee, I would like to take a percentage of equity in the company. What does that look like, right? Is it 20%, 10, 15? That's something that you'll have to work out with them. However, maybe say a little bit higher, and then they can negotiate with the expectation that they're going to negotiate down with you, right? I usually like to take an equity position that's low enough that I don't have to be on the org chart. So I don't want to be on the organizational chart of the business. And what that means is, if I can get enough percentage of equity in the company that I don't have to be called every day, or have to go. Maybe the most would be board meetings once in a while to be available in those. But more than that, just get my payment. It's more of a passive type, add value where I can over time. But it still gives me time to continue to do this work on other projects. So to have a little bit of equity in a lot of different companies. Okay, so that's the goal here. Here's a network to look up that actually could be over here on either sides with the partnership is Trade Show News Network. So TSNN, is you can look that up. And what it is it's a directory of all the different trade shows, right? And so what you can do is if you're able to get your hands on a list of people or different things along those lines, is you could use that to leverage maybe partnering with a company and saying, hey, I have possible buyers. Like this is a list of end consumers, right? And so that's just another idea of coming in here of partnering with a company, okay? So mentors and equity. So we talked about this on a past segment, but if you can find a mentor, so I'm going to use this as an example. I've been in many groups like this. One of these groups that I've been in is Epic. So we just had a conference in Austin a couple weeks ago. It's great, and basically it's a lot of like-minded individuals like myself, where we're getting together, and you have people with capital that are looking for deals, and you have people that have deals. And what I found is the biggest problem is deal flow with everyone. No one has deal flow. You have buyers and sellers, but everyone wants deal flow, and they need help there. And so in there, you kind of buy yourself into a membership and access to certain people. But how do you keep that mentorship going, right? So find a mentor, even if it's within the group, or if you have key figures there that are helping you out, and that's great. But they're only going to have limited. You're only going to have limited accessibility to them, like 3 phone calls, a certain amount of emails and stuff like that, right? But really, what it is there's people in these groups that can mentor you that have just as much experience as those putting it on, right? And they go in there just to expand their network. That's solely why it's worth $12,000 to them to get in and just expand their network, because one deal already pays for itself, right? So you can find a mentor, figure out their need. Stop telling them what you want, okay? Figure out what their needs are first, fill that need, and that's how you're going to create value, okay? And then once you create that value, you got yourself a mentor who's going to want you around because you're valuable to them. The biggest thing that we all have, the biggest asset we have, is our time. This person doesn't have a lot of time, okay? But if you're able to create value in taking things off their plate and helping them still move forward or be more productive, or if it's providing deal flow, right? It's one of the main things that a lot of these people are going to want is deal flow, okay? Fill that void, fill that value. They're going to appreciate that and reciprocate indirectly a mentorship that's going to be created within this value that you're bringing, and they help you go through the process. And most of the time with this, what you're going to be able to do is take an equity position in those companies and work alongside these people. And a lot of these people, so a personal mentor of mine, his sweet spot is about 20% equity, and he was able to close 12 businesses in 6 months. Just recently this last year, right? And he's closed many more since then. But what we've been able to do is I've been able to go to him, create value, right? He has a need, and I've been able to create that value, bring him deal flow. And he says, hey, Matt, I'm not that great at deal flow, but what I am good at is structuring deals, okay? What I am good at is bringing the funding. What I am good at is getting the deals over the line. So why can't I make him busy with deals on his plate? And then he's busy getting those over the line. But I get to be a fly on the wall when we were beginning our mentorship to say, how does he do this? How does he get it over the finish line? So not that I can leave him behind and go, because that would be just crazy to do. But we stick together, and then I'm able to take that and then form other partnerships with other people and grow that way. So find a mentor, okay? Someone that can help you and teach you along the way, but find their need. What do they need, okay? Because if you can find a need and help them accomplish that and fill that void and create value, you indirectly are going to accomplish your goals along the way. Okay? And it's a win-win for everyone. So basically, without deal flow, you're dead. What we do is we help individuals with deal flow. We either teach you how to do it, we do it with you, or we can do it for you, right? If you're looking for funding or partnerships or potential mentorships along the way, reach out. Subscribe below, send me a message. I try to respond to those individually, but really what we're here to do is collaborate, not really compete, but it's more collaborate and grow together. But yeah, remember importyeti.com, TSNN. Go to these different places, help you create value. Remember to get your library card and hit those lists multiple times. You're not just getting it one. It's not a spray and pray approach one time. Hit it multiple times, okay? And be consistent. It's the consistency in doing these things. If you do these things and you get a good deal going and you stop these things while you're working on the deal, you know, you're gonna lose that momentum, okay? And you don't want to lose that momentum. And so you constantly have to keep this flywheel going, okay? If you have any questions here in the future, again, subscribe below, send us a message and reach out, and we'll definitely go from there. Hope that answers your question, and we'll be back.